The spore heart. How mushroom farming taught Namagem Povius to feel again. A story of resilience, emotional intelligence, and the quiet magic of growth. The way to silence. Atahura Povius's world was the color of dust. Not the romantic, golden dust of sunset, but the gray, choking dust of Hoima's dry season. The kind that coated her tongue, lined her children's coughing lungs, and settled in the creases of her mother's worried face. At 28, Povius felt ancient, her spirit as cracked as the sun-baked earth outside her window. Her husband, Samuel, had left 2 years prior, chasing work in Kampala that never materialized. Her days blurred into a haze of survival, fetching water before dawn, tending a withered maize patch that yielded little more than disappointment, and watching her son, Cato, grow thinner despite her best efforts. Emotion? Povius had buried hers deep, like a dormant spore in parched soil. Sadness, anger, fear, they were luxuries she couldn't afford. Her emotional intelligence, once sharp as a razor, had dulled to a blunt instrument of endurance. She felt, yes, but only the heavy, suffocating weight of despair. The lighter notes hope, joy, connection had long since faded. She was alive, but not living. The whisper in the waste. The change began not with a bang, but with a whisper, or rather, the absence of one. Povius was sweeping the compound, her movements listless, when a rusted pickup truck rattled to a stop outside. A woman with kind eyes and skin the color of rich soil stepped out. Sarah, from Eco-Agric Uganda. She spoke of waste, not as an end, but a beginning. You see these coffee husks, Povius? Sarah gestured to the pile, smoldering near the edge of the village, acrid smoke stinging the air. They're not trash. They're potential. They can grow food. Food that sells. Food that nourishes. Sarah held up a small, pale oyster mushroom. This, she said, her voice soft but resonant, grew from what you call waste. It can grow you too. Povius stared. The mushroom looked alien, delicate, almost magical against the backdrop of her dusty reality. A flicker, faint as a firefly, stirred in her chest. Curiosity, an emotion she hadn't felt in years. It was fragile, easily extinguished, but it was there. Sarah offered training, free, for the women of Hoima. Povius hesitated. Another disappointment? But the image of the mushroom, born from ash, lingered. She nodded, the motion almost imperceptible. I will come, she whispered, the words feeling strange in her dry throat. The alchemy of spores. The training shed behind the village church smelled of earth, damp straw, and something else, something alive. Povius joined a circle of women, their faces etched with the same weary lines as hers. Sarah spoke of spores, the vast, hidden network of threads that connects mushrooms underground, like nature's internet. It breaks down waste, Sarah explained, demonstrating how to pasteurize coffee husks and sawdust with steam. It turns nothing into something, into food. Povius's hands, calloused from hoeing unyielding soil, trembled slightly as she packed the damp, steaming substrate into plastic bags. Sarah showed them how to inoculate the bags with tiny white specks, the mushroom spawn. Handle with care, Sarah instructed. Like a newborn. It's alive. It feels. Povius felt a jolt. Feels? The idea that this humble fungus could feel seemed absurd, yet profound. She pressed the spawn gently into the warm substrate, her touch suddenly reverent. Over the next days, she returned to the shed daily, checking the bags. At first, nothing. Just damp, dark bags smelling faintly sweet. Doubt, her old companion, crept in. Another waste of time. Then one morning she saw it. A tiny, delicate thread of white, like spun moonlight, weaving through the substrate. Spores. It was spreading, connecting, growing. Povius touched the plastic bag, her breath catching. A warmth spread through her chest, unfamiliar and powerful. Hope. Raw, terrifying, exhilarating hope. She hadn't realized how cold she'd been until this tiny spark ignited. The first harvest and the floodgates. The waiting was agony. Povius checked the bags obsessively, her emotions swinging wildly between elation at the spreading spores and paralyzing fear that it would all fail. She learned to read the bags like a farmer reads the sky, the condensation, the color, the subtle shifts in texture. Her emotional intelligence, long dormant, began to stir. She noticed the other women's anxieties, Mama Asama's trembling hands, prosy silences when her bag showed no growth. Povius found herself offering quiet words of encouragement, sharing observations Sarah had taught her. It needs warmth, prosy. Move your bag closer to the sunbeam. Simple words, but spoken with a newfound empathy. She was connecting. Then, the pinheads appeared. Tiny, creamy white bumps pushing through the slits in the bags. The air crackled with electricity. The women gathered, their faces alight with a shared, nervous excitement. Povius's heart hammered against her ribs. Please let this be real. 2 days later, the first oyster mushrooms unfurled. Delicate, fan-shaped, impossibly beautiful against the dark substrate. Povius harvested hers with trembling fingers, the cool, slightly rubbery texture a revelation. She held the cluster, a small, perfect bouquet of possibility. Sarah waited. 2 kilograms, Povius. At today's market price, that's 8,000 shillings. 8,000. Enough for Cato's school fees for a month. Enough for medicine. Enough for more than survival. Povius looked at the mushrooms in her hands, then at the faces of the other women, their eyes shining with mirrored hope. A sob escaped her, raw and unexpected. Years of suppressed emotion, fear, grief, loneliness, surged up, hot and overwhelming. She didn't fight it this time. She let the tears fall, cleansing, purifying. For the first time in years, Povius allowed herself to feel deeply, painfully, beautifully. The mushrooms hadn't just fed her body, they had unlocked her heart. The spore network of community. Success wasn't a single harvest, it was a cycle. Povius became adept. Her shed, once a place of hesitant learning, buzzed with quiet efficiency. She mastered pasteurization, inoculation, humidity control. Her emotional intelligence deepened. She learned to read the spores, its hunger, its needs, its subtle responses to environment. She learned to read people too. When young Tom, struggling with addiction, hovered near the shed, she didn't shoo him away. She offered him a simple task, stacking bags, paid him a small amount from her earnings. He came back, day after day. She saw the pride in his eyes when he handled the substrate carefully. She saw the subtle shift in his posture. Empathy. She understood his struggle without judgment, offering dignity through work. She became a teacher, sharing her knowledge freely with other women. She didn't just teach technique, she taught patience, observation, resilience, the emotional skills the mushrooms demanded. The spores doesn't rush, she'd say, pointing to the delicate threads. It connects, it nourishes, it grows strong together. Like us, the women formed a cooperative. They pooled resources, shared harvests, supported each other through setbacks, a contaminated batch, a market glut. Povius was the quiet anchor, her emotional intelligence the glue that held them. She mediated disagreements with calm wisdom, celebrated victories with genuine joy, and offered solace during losses. The mushroom shed became more than a workplace. It became the heart of the community, a place where emotions, joy, frustration, camaraderie, grief were acknowledged, shared, and transformed. Like the spores breaking down waste, they were breaking down isolation, building connection. Povius realized her own emotional growth wasn't separate from the mushrooms. It was intertwined.